platform. Participants are kindly requested to mute your audio to avoid any interferences during the session. Any queries you have pertaining to the session, you can type it in the chat box. On behalf of the management of Anna Velangani's College for Women, encompassing Dr. S. Devaraj, Chairman, Dr. M. Delphin Devaraj, Vice Chairman, Dr. D. Devanand, Secretary, and Dr. D. Johnny Christopher, Director. Myself, Dr. S. Bioloja, HOD of UG and PG Biochemistry, Anna Velangani's College for Women, greeting you all a very happy evening. Today, we have gathered onto this virtual platform for the webinar on a new topic, 3D bioprinting technology for regenerative medicine by Honorable guest, Dr. C. Sheila Sasikumar, Director, Clinical Research, SS Healthcare. To begin with, I kindly request Dr. Priyadarshini Imayavaramban, Assistant Professor, Department of Biochemistry and Organizing Secretary of today's event, to deliver the welcome address.
Thank you, ma'am. Greetings to one and all. Honorable Chairman, Sir, Dr. S. Devaraj, esteemed Vice Chairman, Madam Dr. Delphin Devaraj, respected Secretary, Sir, Dr. D. Devanand, and respected Director, Sir, Dr. D. Johnny Christopher, beloved Principal in Charge, Madam, Mrs. Adeline Devasugin, and Head of the Biochemistry Department, Dr. S. Bioloja, distinguished guest speaker, participants, my fellow faculties, students, and partakers. I am pleased to be connected with you all in this virtual forum today. I, Dr. Priyadarshini Imayavaramban, Assistant Professor, Department of Biochemistry, Anna Velangani's College for Women, on behalf of Anna Velangani's Group of Educational Institution, take great pride in welcoming all the attendees of today's webinar on 3D bioprinting technology for regenerative medicines. It gives me immense warmth and great pleasure to grace all of your presence in the interest of the entire team. It gives me tremendous contentment to be presenting the welcome speech amongst the most esteemed faculties and vibrant participants. Before I proceed, let me give a glimpse about our institution. Education is the most powerful weapon which you can use to change the world. This is not just a saying, but the motto and vision of our beloved Chairman, Sir Dr. S. Devaraj. His mission is to cater high-quality education to nook and corner of the society. Our Chairman, Sir, gave life to his mission by establishing Anna Velangani's Group of Educational Institutions in the year 1988. He sowed the seed for his grail in the form of Anna Velangani School, which eventually germinated and branched into 11 different academic and training institutions as a result of a wonderful management and dedicated staffs. Our Department of Biochemistry started in the year 2017. Department of Biochemistry equips the students with knowledge and enhances practical skills in biochemistry and prepares them to work as a professional in the life science industries and to carry out further academic environment researches. Now, about today's webinar. Today's webinar will share an insight into the recent trending research on three-dimensional bioprinting technology. 3D bioprinting is a form of additive manufacturing that uses cells and other biocompatible materials as inks, also known as bioinks, to print living structures layer by layer, which mimics the behavior of natural living system. 3D bioprinting can be the response to worldwide organ shortages and the increasing reluctance to test new cosmetic, chemical, and pharmaceutical products on animals. I sincerely hope that this webinar will enable you to meet and discuss about the 3D bioprinting technology breakthrough in healthcare, revolutionizing organ donations and animal testing. I hope that deliberations from our other high-level eminent speaker, Dr. C. Sheila Sasikumar, will benefit the participants to update the knowledge on 3D bioprinting technology. Dear participants, make it an interactive session as we have an highly energized versatile and passionate speaker among us today. With this note, I once again welcome our esteemed management, respected principal madam, distinguished guest speaker, all the enthusiastic participants, beloved HOD madam, fellow staff, students, technical assistants, and everyone connected here with us today to this webinar. And I wish a great success to this webinar. Thank you. Over to
Thank you, ma'am, for giving us an overview about our college, our department, and the event of today. I humbly invite Dr. D. Devanand, esteemed Secretary of Anna Velangani's Group of Educational Institutions, to present us the special address.
Good evening to one and all present here. Am I audible?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Respected Dr. C. Sheila Sasikumar, the Director Clinical Research, the guest speaker for this session. Respected Principal Ma'am, Head of the Department, Organizing Secretary, and other members of the Department of Biochemistry of Anna Velangani College, the faculty, dean, and staff members of Anna Velangani College, and all the participants who have come from the various colleges, students, research scholars, so on. I deem it a privilege and pleasure to welcome all of you to a webinar which is being organized by a Department of Biochemistry of Anna Velangani College for Women. And at the outset, I appreciate the head of the department, the organizing secretary, and all the faculty members of the Department of Biochemistry for organizing this very useful webinar, which talks about the technology and how technology plays a vital role in the field of biochemistry. And biochemistry is not just related, not just only to checking the blood levels and other, it's not just a chemistry. It is an field where this technology can be applied, and there are a lot of latest recent technological advancements happening in this field. So I think today's webinar will be covering all the areas, which will be very, very useful for all the participants and the students. And you can ask all your queries to the speaker. And on behalf of the management, once again, I welcome the speaker for spending this time in this virtual platform. And I thank the organizers for organizing this webinar, and I wish this webinar to be a great success. Thank you, one and all.
Thank you, sir. I call Ms. S. Geeta Lakshmi, Assistant Professor, Department of Biochemistry, to enlighten us on the day's honorable guest speaker's profile.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. A very good evening to all respectable members connecting in this webinar meeting. Myself, Mrs. S. Geeta Lakshmi, Assistant Professor, Department of Biochemistry, Anna Velangani's College for Women. I take this as a great honor and privilege to introduce today's outstanding speaker, resource person, Director of Clinical Research, SS Healthcare, Dr. C. Sheila Sasikumar, Madam, and Consultant Head Clinical Research, High Care Super Specialty Hospital, Chennai, Consultant Clinical Research, Chennai, Plastic Surgery, Chennai, member of IEC IRP, High Care Super Specialty Hospital, Seed Fund Technical Subcommittee member, Golden Jubilee Women, Biotech Park, Distinguished Adjunct Faculty, Department of Biochemistry, Savita Dental College and Hospital. Expensive, more than we are 28 years in the academics and research. She have research expertise in clinical research, clinical biochemistry, nanotechnology, molecular biology, natural product bioactivity. And ma'am, as an published, there is research publication, international and national, 60 publications till date. Madam Sheila, as an outstanding achievement and honorary positions, awarded as Professor E.P. Odom Gold Medal 2007 for commendable research activities from scientific advisor to Prime Minister. GM and Healthcare, the Pro, we are 360 product launch as an editorial board member. Anti-cancer agents in medicinal chemistry, Bantam Science publisher, SOJ Material Science and Engineering, and research on chemical intermediates. We are also Springer Interview Journals. And then we are a chairperson, natural. We are the National Conference on the Phytochemicals as Biotherapeutics, and we are also the unraveling to the mystery of natural product. February 16th and 17th and 2016, the women coordinators and a member in the Administrative Senate. In 2007 and 2008, Loyola College. And we are the panel of subject expert nominated by the Vice Chancellor. We are also with the University of Madras. DGHS is a fellowship in 19.
Okay, ma'am. I welcome you onto the screens. There might be some technical glitches out there.
Okay, no
A warm
problem.
welcome to you, ma'am, and the session is all yours, ma'am. Welcome you onto the screens, ma'am.
Thank you, Geeta Lakshmi, for your warm introduction. Let me share the screen and then I'll speak with you.
Yes,
And tell me whether I'm audible and my screen is visible, because I'm going to share the entire screen. Okay.
yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Supervisor. We are also a PhD program in biotech chemistry and the University of
Geeta, ma'am. Geeta, ma'am.
Yes, yes.
Yeah,
yes,
you
ma'am.
can just stop, ma'am. அது அவங்க present பண்ண சொல்லிட்டேன் நான் ma'am. நம்மளுக்கு அந்த network issues இருந்ததுனால I've asked her to start off. Okay.
So hope my screen is visible and I'm audible to
Ma'am,
you.
you're very much audible, ma'am.
Thank you.
Screen I'm yet to see, ma'am. It just shows that started screen sharing.
No, I have shared it, ma. Once again, I'll do it. That's the issue always happening.
Yes,
Yes.
ma'am. It's okay, ma'am.
It is seen, ma?
No, ma'am.
Okay, wait a minute. Can you now?
Yes,
Yes,
ma'am.
ma'am.
Now it is visible.
Okay, I'll make it to slideshow and then I'll move.
Yes.
Is it okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Perfect. Perfect.
And is it moving also?
Yes, ma'am. Yes,
Yes.
ma'am.
Okay, good. Okay. So thank you, Geeta Lakshmi. We have to accept the technical glitches that is happening on all these platforms. Hi, participants. Good evening to one and all. The young, vibrant participants, including the faculty members, teachers, and also the research scholars, the PG and UG students. Welcome you all. And my welcome to all the faculty members for this webinar session on 3D bioprinting technology. So at the onset, before we begin the process and all these things, at the onset, I wish to thank my sincere thanks to the management, the chairperson, the vice chairperson, the director, and the secretary, Dr. Devanand, the head of the department, Dr. S. Bulaja, the organizing secretary, Dr. Priyadashini, and including all the teachers of Annai Velangani College for Women for providing me this opportunity to share my views on the process of 3D bioprinting technology. I'm also happy to share in this platform that we worked on this 3D bioprinting technology in case of diabetic foot ulcer in our hospital. So I will share my experience in that also. So my best wishes to Annai Velangani College for Women, to the management, the HOD, and the other faculty members. Thank you all. let us proceed with 3D bioprinting technology. If there are any queries, please do type it in the chat box. If my screen is not visible or if I am not audible, kindly stop me and you can tell me. So let us move on. So 3D bioprinting technology for regenerative medicine. Now this 3D bioprinting technology now has moved on to 4D process. Now we are in the 4D bioprinting technology also. That also I'll share it with you. So as Geeta Lakshmi was introducing me, I'm working as a director of clinical research and also I'm working as head clinical research in High-Care Super Specialty Hospital in Chennai. And also please do view all my publications regarding the diabetic foot ulcer and everything in all the fields, in all the platforms which I have shown here. These are the links that I have provided you. So a 2-minute introduction about my thing. I'm the director of SS Healthcare. It's basically started for providing services in the field of clinical research with supporting the pharmaceutical, herbaceutical, nutraceutical, and biotechnology products to understand the development of these products and to use it for the benefit of the mankind. Also, we have education service. We support researchers and entrepreneurs, especially women entrepreneurs. If they have any innovative idea that can be converted into a product, we help them for that. Also, we do services on, as I told you, in clinical trial research, educational services, including statistics, IPR, copyright, everything, and product development, all types of product development, including the artificial intelligence product, sensor-based products, etc., and also startup for the entrepreneurs. So this is about a short intro about me. And we are into the 3rd online internship program to help the students during this lockdown period to update the practical skills and knowledge regarding the laboratory work, as well as in the some of the important techniques that is going on to update them. So coming to bioprinting technology. What is bioprinting? Now imagine a computer you are typing or you are doing some work and you have converted a Word document into a PDF and you wanted to send it to some person, or you want to take a printout and send it to your friend or someone. What you will do, you will immediately convert it into a form which can be readily printed, and this printed form is in the form of paper. But the one thing that you have to consider here is the paper and the printer is available, but you need some ink, a cartridge. So a cartridge is used to type to take out the printout of the material, either a black and white or color. The similar form of technology is used here also. So you are going to take out a printout of the tissue or an organ or a cell that mimic exactly what is happening in your system. So that is called the bioprinting process. So bioprinting is nothing but it's automated generation of biologically. So when I say biologically, it includes 2 technology or 2 terms here, structurally and functionally. So we all know we are biochemists and most of us are life sciences. Our cell can perform the function only the architecture of the cell is maintained. So structure is very important to perform its function. So biologically functional products with the structural organization from the living cells or bioactive molecules, biomaterials, cell aggregates such as microtissues or hybrid cell material, or constructs through the bioprinting process or bioassembly and subsequent tissue maturation process. So you are taking all the data of that particular organ or the tissue and you are going to construct a bioconstruct, and this live tissue which you are obtaining by 3D model is replaced or is used as a scaffold in case of humans. So this is about the 3D bioprinting technical term or the definition what you say. Now, you can ask me, why should we talk about this? It includes printing process, how they are co-linked. It is a very important process that scientists, clinicians are working on, especially in global platforms, because this is going to help in the future of the healthcare sector. So 3D bioprinting in a healthcare is a growing subsector. Why? To create live human cells or tissues for use in regenerative medicine and tissue engineering. Some uses have reached global application, but most of them are still in the research phase, going on and on. So ethical issues and others have to be considered during this process. Now, am I audible, ma?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Now, a picture which I have projected here is a recent news. You can see the link that I have provided here. This is a recent paper which has been published in February 2020, where they went to make or produce a handheld 3D printer. That means it is portable, which can print layers of tissues to cover the burn wounds. This technology was developed by the research group from the Toronto Engineering University along with Sunnybrook Hospital. And they've used the bioink, which I'll tell you in detail in the coming slides. The bioink they have used is the stem cells, that is from the specialized mesenchymal stromal cells or MSC cells. And with these bioinks, they were able to promote or produce or regenerate a healthy tissue, leading to reduction in the scar formation, which is very important in case of surgical wounds or burns or in case of ulcers, etc. So this is really a great innovation. So on the platform, if it is used in case of burns and all these things, it will be a very, very important technique for the cosmetic as well as for the survival process. So 3D bioprinting is a pioneering technology that enables fabrication. So we are introducing that word fabrication. We are going to fabricate it. So fabrication of biomimetic, multi-scale, multicellular tissue. So it is not a single layer where you're going to do it. It is a 3D model. That means three-dimensional X, Y, and Z axis will be noted down, and it will be layered one over the others to form a multicellular layer or a tissue with a highly complex tissue environment, intricate cytoarchitecture, which is very important for the function, and a structural function hierarchy and tissue specific composition and mechanical heterogeneity. That is also important. So whatever the tissue that we are going to produce should have the biomechanical property, biocompatibility, and all these things, so that they can perform exactly the live tissue, and this can be used as a replacement for the patient in need. So what is the principle in these cases? The principle of this 3D bioprinting technology is layering or manufacturing the materials one over the other. That means layer by layer, you're overlapping it. So each layer is constructed and then it is overlapped one above the other. So fabricate components with any complex shape. Suppose you want a structure of nose or an ear or a cartilage or some tissues concerned with the scaffold. So each one, according to the shape that is required, is built accurately using a technology called the CAD model. The material used here can be, see, you are using a biocompatible material, But to build that material, you need exactly the design. What type of design you need, how it has to be layered. So in that case, a CAD model, which is called computer aided design model. So this is done with the help of the computer, or also you take the CT scan or the MRI scan, that is computer tomography of that particular organ, or the MRI magnetic resonance image of that particular organ will be taken at different angles, and all these data will be put together under computer control, and this will be developed into a file, and this file will be used for developing the model. So here, since you are taking all the data of that particular structure, how it is built, how the functions are performed, and you have the scan image as well as the computer image, the CAD model, you're converting into the software, and the software will exactly control how exactly the tissue has to be fabricated. And so the technology is high throughput, and it is scalable, which is a very important, and reproducible. It is not for one use what you're going to do. It is not for a single use. You need to produce this for many persons who are in need currently. So organizing multiple layer of cells, that is more important whenever we are thinking about tissues or organs in a desired structure. So that is the principle. So now you understood what is 3D bioprinting, what is the principle of that. Now comes the question, why do we need 3D bioprinting? When I'm telling you so much of technology, you know it will be highly expensive. So why do we need such a highly expensive technology in case? Then we have to think about the question. See, there are many persons, or globally, I can say there are many patients who are suffering from end stage diseases. So end stage diseases means they need some organ for their continuous survival. So in those cases, donor shortage is one question that comes into our picture. So there are not much donors available. So they need to wait for a long time for getting the organ transplantation. So donor shortage for organ transplantation is the major clinical challenge which is found globally. This is one thing that drives us forward to adopt this technology called 3D bioprinting technology. So current so if you see the picture, sorry, I didn't show you the picture. Now, if you see the picture, the medical, just I've shown you the medical applications. There are other applications also. So when you see the medical applications of 3D bioprinting, you can do the bioprinting of tissues or organs in a unique dosage form, personalized drug dosing, personalized patient needs, all these things, complex drug release profile. And it is very important that this is a major thing that helps us to understand that for a person to have an organ, a replacement, or a particular scaffold, this technique needs to very essential. So currently, the research on 3D printing technology, if I see, now whatever I'm giving you are the recent publications along with whatever I had experienced. So wherever I have quoted the link, you can just go through the journals. So current research on 3D printing technology for medical applications, you can classify into 4 types. One, research on manufacturing pathological organ model to aid pre-operative planning and surgical treatment analysis. That is one thing. Or personalized manufacturing for permanent non-bioactive implants. That means according to my needs, that is the patient needs, you can prepare the implant and you can place it in his body permanently. That is personalized one. Research on fabricating local bioactive or biological scaffold. For example, there is a particular wound, you want to accelerate the wound healing process, and the wound healing also, there should be no scar. In that case, what you can do is you can create a biological scaffold with your own autologous cells. As a result, there is no rejection, and these autologous cells of the scaffold can be placed as a patch or a dressing material above the wound. And since it is your own product, what happens, your own stem cells, for example, you take an adipose tissue, you prepare your own autologous adipose tissue as a scaffold. When you place it on the wound will take up the materials, and stem cells or the adipocytes that is present in your adipose tissue will be converted to or differentiated into keratinocytes, forms a complete or initiate the wound healing process. So that type of biological scaffold can be done. And also directly printing tissues and organs with complete life function. That is what the recent research goes on to prepare their ears, defective morphology ears, nose due to accident if there is a damage. So there can be replacement, and this particular type of model can be used as a replacement. So these are the things which is currently going on, and we are classifying it. So out of which it is very important that personalized manufacturing. So according to my needs, if they give me an implant that suits for me, so permanently I can use that. So this is very successful in case of bone implants, cartilages, etc. So now the major challenge I told you is the limited availability of donors, and there are many persons or patients waiting for this transplantation technique. For example, let us take a kidney transplantation, where the person is suffering from chronic glomerular nephritis, comes to the renal end stage renal disease. As a result, what happens, he loses one kidney, or the function of the renal system is lost, so he has to go to the dialysis. Now after doing, you cannot survive for so many dialysis, so the patient thinks I can go for a transplantation. So when you're going for organ transplantation, there are many processes, as we know, and we have to wait for the donor. So in this case, if a 3D bioprinting organ is available, or a 3D printing biological material is available, it will be a blessing to that patient, because he can survive, and he starts to perform his function. So that is one of the blessing we see in case of 3D bioprinting process. So organ transplantation is one of the major treatment of any end stage diseases. And one more thing, if you are waiting for the organ transplantation, and since it is going to be an allogenic, there is problem associated with allogenic transplantation. So you need to take the immune suppressive drugs for lifelong. So that can be also there can be some rejection process going on due to this allogenic grafts. So that is one thing need to be considered. Then conventional tissue biofabrication, seeding cells, that can also be done. Seeding the cells, biomolecules with a scaffold, porous structure, mimicking properties, etc. That is, you create your own extracellular matrix. Scaffold-based strategies, that is what I told you. You can create your own tissue construct like bone, skin, cartilage, etc. So all these things are found to be a blessings, that is conventional tissue biofabrication and scaffold strategies. And as I told you, patient specific medical treatment, that is very important in the coming years. We cannot categorize or we cannot generalize, but if it is a patient specific, according to my needs and according to my pathological consequences that is happening, if a treatment is given, that will be again a real blessing for us. Then expansion of patient, that's what I told you now. If I am taking my own autologous cells, that is called autologous, is one taking from the same person and using it as a scaffold. So patient derived autologous cells will also help us to form a scaffold strategy or to develop tissues or organs for transplantation. Then you have 3D tissue analogs. Now, this is nothing but incorporating the native cells, same as the same native cells, but suitable biocompatible material like collagen, etc. And using a precise computer aided control method, you're creating a fabrication process. Then 3D constructs with the cell density, cell arrangement, cell to cell arrangement, so that communication is happening, niche and anatomical geometry. That anatomical geometry only help us to understand the 3D model of the native tissue. So all these things can help for a regenerative medical application. So these are some of the important things. For example, another thing I want to tell you is, for example, if a person has burns and some of the tissue is lost, in those cases, we are going to use his skin as a what you call it as a graft, and you're going to work it on. In those cases also, this technique can be adopted. So research is going on in this also. So apart from the medical application, whatever I told you, organ transplant, tissue repair, drug discovery, now it also helps us to understand what is the receptor that is needed for that particular, that is the drug discovery process. If this particular thing is going to bind, which type of receptor, is it alpha receptor or beta receptor? What happens after it binds and forms a complex? Which metabolic pathway is going to be accelerated or inhibited? All these things can be studied using this method. And consumer care industry, it is widely used. Cosmetic industry, it is used. Disease modeling, and finally now they have encroached in the food industry, where they prepare the animal free meat without killing animals to produce the meat. That is going on. So these are some of the important application of 3D bioprinting technology, which not only includes regenerative medicine, but in pharmaceutical, drug screening. That drug screening includes the pharmacokinetic property, everything, and also production of animal free meat. Now coming to the brief history. Now when I am discussing what is today's date is 7/8/2021. We are in the year of 2021. It is not that 3D bioprinting has started recently. It is started in the year 1984. So from the year 1984 on, they were preparing 2D models. So two-dimensional models were done. And then in 2001, 2002, until 2019, we have so many innovations, modifications, new inclusions, etc. As I said, now we are into the 4D bioprinting. So this helps us to understand that this is not a recent technology. Scientists are working, clinicians are working for this long time, but now only recently it has entered into the healthcare market in wide opportunities. So that is about the history. Now, if you see this picture here, I've just shown the schematic illustration which appeared in this paper, Science. Now, if you see here, it is a Nature paper. The human corneal epithelial cells is allowed to bind with gelatin and with our polymer collagen. See, collagen is a very important biomaterial that needs to be incorporated for the matrix preparation. Now, these are combined together. Before that, you get the image model, as I told you, CT scan, MRI scan, then you feed into the computer, you get a software, and that along with the materials, now is you see the 3D model is fed into, this is mixed into this slurry, is fed into the printer. The printer, which I'll show you, there are different types of printer also. Now this printer has a pointed nozzle and it will be controlled. The system is entirely under control. And also there is a regulation of pH, temperature, and all the factors, including humidity, etc. So it starts to print the material. It forms a layer by layer. So this is a one layer. Each layer is printed, overlapped one above the other to get a printing structure. Now, if you see, this layer is composed of, see, we have taken the corneal epithelial cells along with gelatin or alginate, which is going to be again a polymer and is useful for binding. And with collagen, it forms a layer like this. So the cells are embedded and encapsulated here. So this type of cross-linking is a single layer. Like this, you have multi-layer and forms a printed structure. This is the exact methodology you adopt for 3D bioprinting process. So in case of 3D bioprinting, we'll see that what are the different steps in that. It usually comprises of pre-bioprinting. So pre-bioprinting is whatever you take as a picture converted into an image. All the analysis at different angles, including point to point, will be studied, and then it will be fed into the computer to convert it into a file. And this is all pre-bioprinting. You are here, you will choose the ink also. Then it goes to the printing process, which is the additive manufacturing technique, where you're going to build, and then you will do the form a 3D printed structure, one layer above the layer. How many layers are there, you will build it so that it forms a complex 3D structure, and then it undergoes remodeling and differentiation by in vitro technique, and then this tissue is ready to place it as an implant. So this is the entire process. Whatever the tissues you're going to build, you need these type of steps to proceed. So if you see, this is what I told you. We are going to see in detail, but still. So you take the image, no X-ray, only the CT scan, computer tomography scan of that particular picture. For example, I want the tissue here or the organ here has to be built. So you will take the right and the left ear, including at different angles, the images will be captured, and these images will be fed into the computer to get the segmentation or creation of 3D segments or anatomical geometry of the area of the interest, wherever I'm going to prepare it. Then transformation of 3D into a file. That file is only very important, and this file will be kept ready. And meanwhile, you have to select the printer, your bio ink, your printing material, etc. After which, what happens is that you will start to print, and finally you get the tissue or the organ concerned. So the major question comes that in order to prepare this type of model, first you must understand what is your target area. So the target area, it can be skin or bone or cartilage or valves, your heart valves, or even the myocardium, where the research is going on in myocardium, or kidney cells, whatever it is, whichever is your target area has to be identified, and it has to be well studied before we go into the process. So this 3D geometry will be developed, and the file is created, and the printer, that is the one which is very needed. You have to select a printer, and this printer, I'll show you how the printer will look and what are the different parts of that. And this, after selecting the printer, you have to select if it is for skin, what type of biomaterial I have to use. If it is for cartilage, to build a cartilage, what is the biomaterial? Now it will not be of single material. It will be made up of either natural or artificial or a combination of both. Then the slice model will be prepared and it will be layered to get the entire model. So the entire process, we can divide it into 3 phases or 3 steps, whatever you call. Preparatory phase followed by printing phase, and then the post handling phase or post preparatory phase, whatever we may call. So the preparatory phase, before we go into that, usually this is a team built work where you have to have a clinician or the surgeon, whoever has the knowledge of that. Then you need a computer software person and you need other persons to, that's a teamwork, not a single person doing it. So when the technician gives you the image through the CT scan, he has to sit with the computer, having the software experience to create a CAD model. Once the CAD model is obtained, then the CAD model has to be discussed with the clinician in what way they are going to prepare, and then only the process will be started. So in the preparatory phase, you're going to design the anatomically accurate 3D models via using the CAM or CAD software, whichever it is, and then you will feed it into the bioprinter. And the processing step, what you're going to do is the actual work is done. That means you're using the paper and the cartridge to produce the print. Then in case of ordinary computer, you will take that paper, send it, or you will submit it, whatever the process. Here you cannot do it. You have to allow this particular printed material to undergo the maturation of the fabricated construct in a bioreactive chamber by in vitro techniques to see how it is functioning, how the structure is, whether the created model is exactly the required model that we have produced, or is this a patient specific model we have created. All these will be studied. Only then the construct will be ready for use. So I have divided this here like this. So pre-processing, whatever you have seen, that is the thing. So design model input and material parameters input. This material parameters input is also very, very important, and it has to be decided in what ratio we are going to use it. So that again depends on what type of cells are you going to use and you're going to produce a construct. In case of processing, it is nothing but whatever the combination I'm going to get it, I'm using a printer. Now it is in the computer hands, that is in the printer, which has as a control system. Again, I can use variety of printers, which we'll see: inkjet, extrusion, laser assisted, or stereolithographic 3D bioprinting. Most probably we are using inkjet, but now work is going on stereolithographic. After you get the construct, you are placing it in a bioreactor, and post-processing techniques will be done where all these things will be studied, and then it will be placed. Either you're going to study in animals. For example, you're going to work on the animals to understand how the things are functioning. Then you will place it in the animals and you keep for a period of time. You understand how the animal performance function, or in vitro transplantation can be done. So this is how the process is. So the same thing, I'm giving an episode picture here. So biomaterials, whatever I require. Mainly, I will require a cell, a binding agent, a polymer, which is called as a biomaterial. All these things will be mixed in a required ratio to form a slurry. And you will have already the design, which is a CAD one, will be entering into the bioprinter. Now, if you see, this needle is a micro needle. You can, and the needle hole is very, very, very narrow. So that means what happens is that you are constructing in a very specific dimension according to the needs. So it will be, so it is same as an injection where you will have a piston And this will allow the layer by layer construction through. This is a micro extrusion printer we are using. Finally, we are producing a construct. Here it is going to be the ear. So maturation of 3D construct will form the post-processing process. So having now understood about the process, how it is done, we should also know what are the components needed for bioprinting. So when I say printer, what I'll say, I need a computer, I need a printer, I need a cartridge, I need a paper for printing. That is what we need for when we are working with a printer in a computer. Similarly, here also you require a cell, a hydrogel, or we call it as a polymer, which is going to form a biopaper, and a bioprinter. These three combined together, you're going to get a complete printout that is called the tissue or the organ. So the first and major thing which I told you earlier is the bio ink. So what is this ink? So in cartridge you have, that is in computer cartridge, you can use either a black or colored. Mostly we use black, is it not? Similarly, we use an ink in a printer. Ink is the one which is going to flow down to form the structure called the printout. Now, this bio ink which you are going to use, we are using the word bio. It is not a normal ink. So I'm not using a Camelin or any other ink material. Here we are using a bio ink, which is the combination of the cells, the polymers, and the adhesive materials that is required. Now, this bio ink is the one which is going to fabricate the texture is being created by this bio ink. So where it is stabilized or cross-linked. If you take our cells, our tissue construct, cross-linking is very, very important. So you get the morphological construct and the structure needed. Here the bio ink, as I told you earlier, it can be a natural one or a synthetic one or a composite of both. So that is what is the biomaterial used, but it depends on every type of tissue or construct you are creating. Now, if you see this picture, the bio ink, whatever I told you, the cells, whatever the cells I'm going to use as a starting material, along with biomolecules like collagen and adhesive materials or additive materials, the micronutrients, the growth factors, whatever comes, it will be combined together. Now this is called the bio ink. So this is called the cartridge of this 3D bioprinter, which is going to create a live tissue. What are the properties of the live tissue which is going to create is adhesion, proliferation, that is very important, and differentiation of living cells. So once this bio ink is ready, it is fed into the printer, and the printer, according to the needs, it forms the construct. So this construct can be compared. So this is the engineered one, tissue engineered one, and this is the native one. So it is you have to see how it is being prepared, which is similar to the native construct, and what are the things that is lacking also can be studied. If you are not going to get it, you have to print out it again. So the polymers fabricate the cell in the required manner to cross-link the different layer. Then the other question comes is temperature, pH, all the things will be controlled. So it has to be maintained at a suitable temperature to ensure the preservation of the living cells. And for the maturation process to happen, as I told you earlier, additive materials will be added. As I said, growth hormones, nutrients, the factors, because now you are going to construct as an artificial process. So you need to supply all the materials. Now you would have, some of y'all would have attended my cell culture program, where we showed you how the cell starts to proliferate in a suitable medium. Similarly, when you are coming here also, there is a where you are providing all the factors, the medium, which contains the nutrients, etc., which allows the things to take up, and as a result, the cell starts to proliferate. Okay, so this is about the bio ink, which is used as a very important cartridge material for a bioprinter. So now I told you it is a mixture of polymers, inorganic filters, fillers or nutrients, everything including the precursor cell. So this is the one. So this printer has a very fine nozzle with a control. You can construct a bone or osteochondral repair, vascularization, engineering scaffold process for the drug delivery, whichever the things needed, you can construct. So the common polymers, what are the common polymers I can use for this process is, we can use alginate, gelatin, and decellularized ECM and pluronic. So that can be used, and whatever the bio ink I prepare can be inserted into the piston and it forms the layers. So here, this is one of the paper where they have constructed the neuronal cells for the nerve repair. The most common bioinks, alginate can be used for constructing a cartilage or a chondrocyte, collagen for the preparation of hepatocytes, fibrin, skeletal muscle and neural tissues, hyaluronic acid for fibroblasts and bone cells, PEG or polyethylene glycol, which you would have studied in plant tissue culture in case of protoplast fusion. The same material can be used for the fibroblasts and cartilage, and gelatin for bone and cartilage. This is not a limited one. It depends. Each and every one have constructed based on the trial and error method. So these are the different types of printers which are available: inkjet printer, micro extrusion, laser assisted, and stereolithographic. So in case of stereolithography, you have an additional advantage of using UV or a visible light. So this is finally, I'm showing you a bioprinter. This is the bioprinter which we had worked on. It's a Rohit Healthcare product from South Korea. Now you can see it is an open view here where you have the HEPA filter for this chamber to be in a sterilized form, temperature, there is a camera, bioink warmer, etc. Now this is a type of 4D bioprinter. So as I said, you can do the organ regeneration via the 3D bioprinting technique, layer by layer, preparing the ear. So this is very important in case of, now look at this picture. This is also a very important paper in biomedicine, I think so. Yeah, they have prepared a ear model for a child who was suffering from a condition called microtia. Microtia is nothing, a congenital malformation happening in the children. So if you see, this is the normal ear and this is the microtia. They have taken the scan and 3D pictures, mirror images, and all those things, the right, the left view, everything, and they have constructed it. Before that, they would have studied the cartilage. They took the cartilage biopsy to understand the cell nature, isolation, the expansion, all those things. Finally, they constructed a scaffold and then it is placed, reconstructed, implanted and reconstructed. In case of this microtia ear is being replaced with a normal ear. So this is a blessing where the microtia, it is a discomfort to the person. So this is the flow chart for the illustration of auricular reconstruction based on in vitro tissue engineering using human ear-shaped cartilage. Similarly, you can use skin. I'm not going to talk about the normal skin. This is the normal skin. Skin has a very, very complex structure, and everything, if you see, it has to be built like this in order to get a native tissue model, because there is an epidermis, you have a basement membrane, dermis, subcutaneous layer, then you have the adipose tissue, sebaceous gland, sweat gland, etc. Similar construct has to be created when you're going for the 3D bioprinting. So normally, what are the cells we use for the skin purposes? You can use SCs, fibroblast cells, and keratinocytes, etc. You can use a natural biomaterial, synthetic biomaterial, or even a composite deposit. You can use a bioprinter, inject micro extrusion or laser assisted, but these biomaterials has to be fed into the bio ink for the proliferation. So you have to give epidermal growth factor, all the growth factors and proteins like collagen to build the 3D structure. So if I'm going to use for burns, if I'm going to construct a skin model or a 3D model of the skin, it should possess mechanical properties, because skin is having biomechanical properties, should be biocompatible, and should support the morphology and function if it is used as a replacement, and should be able to facilitate the differentiation. Only then the construct will be a promising alternative approach for the patient. Similarly, you can do for bone, 3D bioprinting of bone. These and all, you know, the physiology. I want you to look at this 3D. This is the normal tissue model where you can see the vasculature, the vein and the artery arrangement, and how the osteocytes are being arranged. So this type of construct has to be done via the SCAD and CAM model. So similar to all the models, you will have pre-processing, processing, and the post-processing phase. And the post-processing occurs in a bioreactor for maturation and can be used as a support wherever it is needed. So normal materials used are starting materials. You can use MSC cells and all those things. So this is a paper. They have studied variety of biomaterials. Normally, they use MSC cells along with the gelatin, etc. So this is again one more example to construct. This is an ongoing research work where they are constructing 3D heart valves in order for the replacement of persons who have the problem in the heart or who have the repair and damaged heart valves. They are now preparing the valves. So this is how they prepare the 3D model, and same, everything is same. The process is going to be the same, but only thing is getting this image and analyzing the image and feeding into the bioprinter to get the exact shape is a skilled work here. So along with this, if you want, even you can use a tissue engineering scaffolds where the precursor cells will be utilized along with the growth factors. So heart valves also can be prepared. There is one more thing which we have to study is during the process of COVID pandemic started from 2019 caused by this coronavirus, there was a battle against this coronavirus by this 3D printing. How is that? There was a shortage of medical equipments, the PPE suits, the mask and all those things. Then 3D bioprinting or 3D printing, in this case, I must tell you, 3D printing helped us to overcome. So this 3D printing helped to form different medical devices, ventilator valves. So you can see there are many things that it's an example how 3D printing is used in case of medical devices. So medical devices, testing devices like swabs, nasopharyngeal swabs, personal protective equipment, mask, emergency dwellings, that is the isolation wards. So here you can see the respirators, different type of respirators. So 3D printing was used not only for this, it is also used to prepare the medical devices, the accessories that were used during this COVID period. So respiratory types, the disposable, half face, full face, and with valves, without valves, and the extender for the mask, surgical mask. Muller was the one to develop this. It was really successful during that COVID period. And the 3D printed swabs, when the swabs were in demand, because globally this was a very it's a scenario where everyone got affected and there was shortage of all these things. So 3D printed swabs, 3D printed isolation wards, when we don't have the rooms availability in the hospitals, 3D printed isolation wards were used. So all these are example of printing, 3D printing in healthcare sector, but in the medical devices and accessories. Now coming to, I told you, we are now in the phase of 4D bioprinting. So what is this difference between 3D and 4D? Nothing. It is going to be one and the same without one additive inclusion is it brings about conformational changes in the printed structure in a predetermined fashion. How? Using the stimuli. Stimuli responsive materials. Stimuli can be external stimuli or an internal. That is, you're using humidity, temperature, light, etc. comes under physical stimuli. Chemical, pH, ionic strength, or even mainly pH we can say, because pH is one of the thing. In case of biological, we can use enzymes or cellular works in origin. Now, this 4D bioprints are widely used to prepare the stent for the cardiac process, wound healing, and drug delivery and tissue constructs. So now you are preparing the construct similar to 3D printing, but here you are printing in such a way based on the nature of the stimuli. So stimuli will have some response, and that response is created in this 4D construct. So this will be more improved technology when compared to 3D model. That's all. So one example, this is also a recent paper, if you see. Now, if you look at the sunflower, normally it is like this. Okay. Now, if you're going to construct it according to the 4D model, what happens is that, for example, I'm going to use light as a factor. It's a physical factor, okay? When light falls on this, it will understand the stimuli and starts to change its shape, that is blooming. When light falls on it, phototropism, so it will start to bloom. So that is called the stimuli. So this is the 3D. From the 3D construct, you are moving to 4D at different time intervals. They have shown how the elimination happens. So this is one example for 4D construct. So I told you about whatever the equipment we worked on with the 3D bioprinting, which is now the 4D model also. This is developed by Rohit Healthcare, a South Korean company, a 4D bioprinting technology company in South Korea. They are using this for the organ replacement and for the regenerative medicine. Now we worked on the management. Now this is a paper which we have published, but it is in the process area. This is about the management of diabetic foot ulcer with minimal manipulated autologous extracellular matrix using 3D bioprinting and innovative approach. So as I told you earlier, in case of diabetic foot ulcer, which is going to be an important complication in diabetes, lower limb complication, our principal investigator, Dr. Rajesh Keshavan, and co-principal investigator, me, we got this work, and along with Doctors V.B. Narayanamurthy and Arvind Rajagopalan and Dr. G. Kim from the South Korea, we worked on this model where in case of diabetic foot ulcer person, in non-healing ulcers, we took the autologous adipose tissue using liposuction, and the scaffold was prepared using the bioprinter, and this scaffold was placed as a primary dressing material on the wound, followed by the secondary dressing material. And to our and we saw that it was readily accepted by the person, and it starts to heal very fast when compared to the normal methodology, because here, since it is autologous, there was no rejection. And the thing that is happening here is the adipocytes which is present in the adipose tissue and the factors that is necessary for the angiogenesis process are taken up by the body, and it is differentiated in the keratinocytes and started healing process. So this is the journal we have written this, it is under process. So this is how we did. So this is a diabetic foot ulcer regeneration platform using the Rohit model. So they will measure the size of the image. So once they measure the size of the image, The image, size of the wound, size of the wound will be measured. This will be captured as an image. The image will be fed into the computer. So you will get the size and the nature of the image based on the size of that. So it is a personalized methodology. So based on the patient size wound, the scaffold will be prepared using the autologous tissue, which is now, if you see, this is the adipose tissue taken up from the person, the same person. It's autologous in nature, and it will be fed into the printer, and via the nozzle it start to print as a scaffold. Now this is this scaffold, it will be the same as the size of the image of the wound. Then it will be placed on the wound and it will be used as a primary dressing material. So this is one of the personalized way which is accelerating the healing of wound ulcers in case of diabetes. So there was no immune rejection. Since it is exactly same as the size of that particular image of the person, it created a native structure and there was no rejection. So this was one model which we studied in the hospital using the 3D printing method. So now I was speaking about only the advantages and different areas where it can be incorporated. But we need to understand there will be always the other side of the coin we have to analyze. So what are the challenges and how these challenges have to be overcome? So the main challenges, there are many challenges. I took some which is very important. So the main challenges that we are facing in this printing technology is long processing time. So the time required is found to be very high. That means for constructing, you require 3 steps. Post-processing, you require some time. In the biofermenter, in the bioreactor, it has to be placed and it has to take up all the cells. Suppose if it is not okay, again you're going to construct another tissue and do the work. So it's a long processing time. And as I told you earlier, it is highly expensive technology. So these two are the main challenging factors to introduce as a technology for a mass. Then limited materials available, that is the biomaterials what we choose are very limited. So we need to understand and work on what are the other materials that can be available. If this is not, if A is not available, we have to search on for B or C to find out that it can be used as an alternative approach as a biomaterial. Then primary barrier, the main primary barrier is suitable ink. Constructing a suitable bio ink is very important. A suitable bio ink with a high biocompatibility and mechanical strength. For example, I told you in case of skin, you need some bio ink. In case of cartilage, it all depends. You have to work on and on to understand whether it suits this particular tissue or an organ. So the primary barrier is going to be a suitable bio ink. Then speed of the bioprinting should be increased. Vasculature, that is what again we are going to face a problem is understanding the vasculature of the tissue construct, that is how the blood vessels are being placed. This is very important because for a tissue, it requires continuous oxygen and nutrients. So vasculature is very important. Then the ethical issues with 3D bioprinting, as I told you, is cost, which inhibits or prevents the poor people from using this technology. So that has to be made a little bit lenient. As a result, everyone can enjoy the benefit. Then to ensure it is going to be safe for the humans. That means there should be some safety regulation and guidelines before it is being introduced as a model or a replacement. Its efficacy is being studied along with the safety also has to be studied so that any errors or adverse reaction can be prevented. So these are the basic challenges what we face in 3D bioprinting. But any technology initially will have problems and challenges, but still we have to overcome this to make it as a boon for the persons where they need as an organ, or where they need as a scaffold, or where they need as a material for burns, for foot ulcers, for wounds, etc. So this is about the 3D bioprinting technology which we worked on. And I think I have given you an YouTube link also of my work. Yeah, you can go across this link to see the exact methodology and use process. So thank you participants for patiently listening to my views on this particular technology. Definitely this technology will occupy and it will come as one of the pioneering one in the future, because we need this, we will be needing this. So thank you. Let us boost our immune system in this COVID pandemic situation. Make your system, you boost it with a diet, a good diet, good exercise, and good lifestyle habits. As a result, you can defend across any type of virus in the future. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am. Participants, any queries you have regarding the session can be posted in the chat box. Appreciations, other than appreciations, if you have any clarifications, you can just put it down in the box. Marvelous, excellent. Only appreciations are out there, ma'am, for your presentation. Okay. So then we will. Okay.
Is there any question?
No, ma'am. Okay.
Is there
Hemalata. Hemalata R has asked, ma'am, is there any side effects of 3D bioprinting?
Is there any side effects of 3D bioprinting? That is what we are studying, because anything, see, if it is autologous, it is not going to raise an issue. But anything apart from that, we have to understand whether it can be any allergic reactions will be produced or not, has to be studied. And that they will study, and then only they will do it.
Yes, thank you, ma'am. No,
Ma'am, excuse ma'am, I have a query, ma'am.
Okay, given your question, Priya, Dr. Priya.
Ma'am, how promising is this 3D bioprinting tissues in testing the drugs and everything, ma'am? Will it give the same results as we do in animals?
This is one thing, it's an important question, Priya, but how long are you going to use animals alone? Because we need some other technology to replace that also. So then in that case, this will be a very good method. There will be all, see now, years back, we were doing many work on animals. Now, then recently we introduced in vitro techniques, that is cell culture based techniques, in order to avoid the, using animals. So in vitro techniques like cell culture were used to study that. So this will be another extension of that where it will be used. So you will also study the receptor based study can be used in this. Definitely it will be of use.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Are there any
yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. How the vascular system can be printed as same as the host one?
And there is one question, 1 minute approximately. Hemlata is asking me how much is the cost for foot
yes,
ulcer.
for foot ulcer.
Yeah, foot ulcer cost, because we worked as a study, we did it, and it depends. We cannot say the exact cost because it depends on the wound size and so many factors. But really, it is a blessing for them. Okay, rheumatoid arthritis. Rheumatoid arthritis joints, they are working it on. Please go to Rohit Healthcare website. You can see how they are using an antigen study for this. So they are working on rheumatoid arthritic joints. Is there any possibility of drying or
Drying while
clotting
using these
moving the-
bioinks.
Now, clot, you are asking me because it's a protein, clotting will not happen. Coagulation, you mean protein. No, you are not doing all those things because you are taking the cells, you are mixing with the required biomaterial. I don't think so. There is a possible of clotting. But there is these three have to mix it in a ratio to form a layer. That layer, if it is not printed only, the problem arises. What is the current capability? Capability means, what do you mean by that, Nitish? Current capability of 3D bioprinting. 3D bioprinting is being used in all means nowadays. Now, please come across, even if you just type 3D bioprinting, you can see bone implants. Because 1 hour I cannot show you so many things. Bone implants, cartilages are being used in the field of ortho. They are using it as a patient-specific implant. They are using it.
Ma'am, one more question. How does 3D printed organ survive after attaching to a patient? How does it develop its blood supply?
How does it? How does?
How does 3D printed organ survive after attaching to patient?
Attached to the, see, when you are doing in the post processing phase itself, you are seeing the vasculature. What do you mean by vasculature? If they are fed with the blood vessels only, it can take up the, see, in case of cell culture also, there is a gaseous exchange. Similarly, here you are placing it in a medium and you are allowing it to study. Though, so it has to take the nutrients from the medium and it has to do the transfusion process, cellular exchange process, gaseous exchange as you call it. In that case, only if there are blood vessels, what happens? It will do this process. Otherwise, it will not be an exact model. And again, when you are placing it, what happens is that it will be taken up by the body, and it starts to understand that this is the organ concern. See, similarly, when you are doing transplantation, it takes time for the organ for the body to understand. Once it starts to understand, that the blood vessel things and all will be normal. So they have extended this work to bones, bony implants in case of ears, etc. So how much of the success has happened, they have to see in the follow-up studies.
Thank you. And Nitish has asked, is it possible for the cells to change its genetic behavior after 3D printing and culturing?
Yes, that's an important question. That's an important question that needs to be studied, Nitish, really, because when you're placing it in vitro, there can be possibilities are there.
Any more questions? Dr. Priya, can you note any more questions that I missed?
There is only one, Janaki Aramugam. She said that, ma'am, excellent presentation. I enjoyed it. I have only one expectation. Poors can also use this technology to get benefits soon. Also, it's a boon for patients because of nil auto rejections. That's what she said.
Yes, we are also even I am thinking on that. We have to work for the poor because and also we have to see that people who are waiting for the transplantation for the organs, this will be definitely a boon. We will see, only time has to tell us, but people are working on sincerely. We do not know.
That's it. My questions are that much. Only appreciations are now flooding in both YouTube as well as in Zoom, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, participants, because only if you are listening interactively, even I feel happy to explain, because whatever I gained when I'm explaining to others, many people will know about that. It's a way of creating an awareness. So as far as health sector is concerned, not only health sector, but because I'm in the healthcare sector, I'm always thinking that whenever new innovations are coming, and if it is benefit to the mankind, it has to be shared with everyone, and people should understand that this is not a limit. globally it is happening. We have to learn the technology and we also have to produce that. We also need to help in that case, so that especially in case of foot ulcers, where my Dr. Rajesh Keshavan is working. He's a podiatric, he's a renowned podiatric surgeon. When we see the ulcers, it is really difficult. They become dependent after amputation. So this will be really a blessing. We have to wait and see how it has been introduced into the healthcare sector.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. Now I request Dr. Priyadarshini Imayavaramban, Assistant Professor, Department of Biochemistry, to propose the vote of thanks.
Thank you, ma'am. Okay, now it's time to thank everyone who made this webinar a great success. At first, I would like to propose my hearty vote of thanks to our guest speaker, Dr. C. Sheila Sasikumar, for her enlightening and highly informative presentation on 3D bioprinting technology for regenerative medicines. Ma'am, we are really illuminated with your knowledge and presence. I must mention our deep sense of appreciation for Dr. C. Sheila Sasikumar, as her presentation gave us a deep insight about the importance of 3D bioprinting, its production methodology, application in healthcare sector, medical devices and accessories, and various other fields. Ma'am, your presentation is a galvanizing session that nurtured our knowledge about a totally new and highly trending scientific research area. I am sure after attending this webinar, many young scholars will focus their research area and area of interest, research interest in 3D bioprinting technology. Your energetic presentation would have surely influenced our participants to involve in the 3D bioprinting research. The attendees may not know this, Dr. Sheila Sasikumar Madam, but we owe you a very special vote of thanks for being here with us, because we know that how much occupied you are, but still you managed to devote your precious time with us. So we are really thankful to you, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. I would like to take this opportunity to place on record our hearty vote of thanks to our management of Anne Velangani's group of educational institution for their support and motivation in organizing such a useful webinar. I would also like to express our profound gratitude to our principal in charge, madam, our HOD, madam, for their constant encouragement in organizing such beneficial events. Special thanks to my fellow staff members and students for their unflinching support and coordination. I would also like to thank our system admin for his technical assistance. Finally, the wonderful participants who have turned up in great numbers, not only from our institution, but also from other schools and colleges. I thank you from the bottom of my heart for your active participation and cooperation. It is your positive feedbacks and responses which encourages us and boosts us to organize many more beneficial events. Thank you so much for your constant support. With these warm words, we move to the end of today's webinar session. Thank you, one and all. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, Dr. Bulaja and Dr. Priyadarshini, who are not new to me, because I can see these two faces always in all my webinars. And I also feel that teachers updating their things during the process is very, very important. And I feel these two teachers always, I can see them in all the webinars, no matter it is even the simple or in the complex way, they do attend. That really needs to be appreciated. It sounds good. So nice of you all.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you.
I thank the management also for providing me the opportunity. Thank you. Thank you all.
Pleasure is
Thank you,
ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you.
Participants, the feedback link has been posted in both YouTube and Zoom. Kindly make a note of it and then start filling it up. Fill it up correctly without any error, because whatever mail ID you give, only there the certificate will be sent. Then there is a confusion and delay in certificate generation. And in case that doesn't accept your submission, kindly make use of the same link tomorrow, because we have too many of participants in both the forum, YouTube as well as in Zoom. So in case it doesn't accept the submission, kindly make a note of the link and submit the same tomorrow. Thank you all for participating in today's event. Thank you all.